Word. Okay, Rob, hit it.
Welcome to the Content Creators Chat, the show where we invite you to join us in a chat about content creation and influencer marketing. I'm Rob Ainbinder.
And I'm Kristen Dokas.
Today we have the pleasure to welcome Hank Hoffmeier to the Content Creators Chat. Welcome, Hank.
Well, thank you for having me today. That was a great warm welcome, and I look forward to today's conversation.
All right, let's just get the pleasantries out of the way here. Hank, tell the world about yourself, please.
Well, my name's Hank. As Rob said, I am the Digital Marketing Infotainer because I like to make marketing fun and successful, but I do also have to pay the bills. I am a senior manager of client solutions for J2 Global, and some brands that we own are iContact, Campaigner, Communicator, and SMTP for your email marketing needs. But we also own Efax, Men's Health Magazine, Mashable, and a whole bunch of other periodicals, websites, and other technology companies. I am part of the AMA Triangle, which is the American Marketing Association. I am also a SCORE mentor. Therefore, I'm also a workaholic. It's because I like what I do. I work when I need to and play when I want to.
I like that. I didn't know that you were a member of part of SCORE. It's the second time in a week that that's come up, and it was one of those entities that I had actually forgotten about. But it's a very cool thing. So, how did you get your start in email marketing?
A while back, seems like decades ago. Actually, it was more than a decade ago. I was in staffing. I worked for Kelly Services, which is a Fortune 500 staffing company. I kind of got burnt out a little bit there and wanted to get into something that aligned with my passions, which at the time was helping people fix their computers and building my own computers. I said, I need to get into technology, and I saw there was an opening at iContact at the time open. I applied for it, got the role. I got into what's called pre-sales and then moved my way up through account management, and now I'm managing a couple different teams and doing a few different things. I'm kind of a jack of all trades, but basically I took a step back in regards to salary to take a step into technology, and I haven't looked back since. And anything that I am passionate about, I want to learn as much as I can, but more importantly, I want to share that with others to help them grow too.
Great. If you could give only one piece of advice to an influencer, either new or seasoned, what would it be?
You need to be consistent, whether you're a content creator as an influencer or not, brand, influencer, whatever, if you want to separate those out, it's consistency. You have to be creating consistent, valuable content that people want to consume. And I think marketers in general, if you're an influencer, you're a marketer. If I ever say that throughout this episode, it's not about what you want to put out there, because you might think you have the greatest message or the greatest image in the world, but if it doesn't resonate with your audience, it's going to fall on deaf ears. It's about your audience. And that's how a lot of these influencers, they gain popularity, because it's about what the audience wants, not about them in particular.
And I think that's true in all marketing, whether it's email marketing, social media marketing. I had a conversation, or I'm working with a client, and I'm working out their strategy. They're not a retained client, so they're strategy consulting type client, and they own a boutique, and their daughters are actually overseeing the social media, and they do a fantastic job. They do a wonderful job. But one of the things that I'm having to work with them is they want to cross post from Instagram. Now, the difference is, and this is because of their age, they don't see that the messaging needs to be very different on Facebook, because the demographics on Facebook are entirely different.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, they are knocking it out of the park on Instagram, because there's that younger audience that is drawn to. But I've been kind of looking at their Facebook and knowing that demographic is middle-aged women, it's not going to resonate as much. And I can see where there's that loss. And so they're not speaking the language of their Facebook audience, because they're speaking the language of their Instagram audience. So that is so true. And I think especially as we're working with the younger influencers and content creators, it's just getting them to understand that it's it's a full picture that they have to look at.
Right.
Talk to us. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think somebody like me, I have it a little bit easier because what I have to say appeals to many generations. And it's basically, I'm speaking to marketers that are of all ages. I can get away with posting similar content on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and YouTube, where certain brands or certain industries, that is a little bit harder. And my advice would be is stick to the platforms that matter. Younger generation is probably TikTok and Instagram, and then maybe YouTube to an extent, but stay away from the Facebook. And I gave a talk this morning for SCORE, actually, and I spoke about, you're always told Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, you have to, and pay-per-click, you have to be there. No matter what you're doing, you have to be there. And it's kind of a lie. Because if you start using Facebook and you're spending a lot of time and you're failing, why? Why not say, well, maybe Pinterest is good for me, and use Pinterest, and you find out, oh my God, why didn't I know about this earlier? So maybe it's Pinterest, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Find out what channels are the best. This way you can create the best content for the channels that matter.
And we've been having these conversations. It's, back in the day, 10, 12 years ago, when all of us were really starting in the social media world, you had to be on everything, on all the platforms. And it's just like, I couldn't tell you the last time I actually recommended Twitter to a client.
It's really come back to kind of marketing 101, the strategy, block and tackling that we're often asked to do for everybody, is that you go where your audience is likely to show up, like wherever it matches up demographically. And that's where you find success. Whether it's a boutique that's trying to reach a certain demographic, they don't know it, or it's a business starting up that you're helping through SCORE, or a nutrition company. It all just depends.
Yeah. And if you're going to work, if somebody here is looking to work with an agency, don't pick one that's a cookie cutter that works with anyone, because you want to talk to somebody that's going to find out what your needs are. And if you're an influencer, same thing. All of your literature and all of your offers need to resonate with your audience. Don't just say, I want to be an influencer for you because I could do X. It's what I could do X for you, and this is the results you'll get.
Yeah, I guess coming back to email, why do you think it's still relevant for an influencer?
Email marketing to me is the best content marketing channel because it allows you to send a message to many people, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people, but yet make it feel like it's a one-on-one conversation by injecting personalization like first name or location, products that you bought or didn't buy yet. You can kind of create a message that looks like it was tailored towards me or to your audience member. And even though a lot of people know that it's algorithms and it's an injection through data, it makes you still feel a little bit better. Try sending a tweet to 10,000 people individually. Can you do it? Same thing on Facebook. Can you do it and make it feel personal? No. Email marketing, you can do that. And email marketing still has the highest ROI of any marketing channel. And more importantly, Rob and Kristen, you know this better than I do probably, is you don't own your audience when you're on social media. You're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever. You don't own your audience. If you get banned from one of those channels, you lost everything. If something is going to get shut down, you have to say, hey, quickly go over to here. I'm on Instagram now. Like if TikTok goes away, if they're not curating their audience, they're going to be gone. But if you can get them on an email list, yeah, you own it. Yeah, you don't. Yeah. Some people argue with me and say, well, your email service provider owns your list, but you can export it at any time and move anywhere. You own the data. Therefore, you should own the relationship, cultivate that relationship, because people still read emails. Yeah. Do either of you check your email first thing when you wake up in the morning?
Absolutely.
Raise your hand if you do.
Absolutely.
And folks, I notice this. Yeah, and if you're just listening on audio, we all just raised our hand because according to the IDC, 85% of us check our email within 15 minutes of waking up.
It's actually one of the first things that I do. Kind of go through and
I can't tell you how many influencers I've seen, small or large. They say, this is my backup channel just in case something happens. Like It's
Yep.
become like standard practice to let your current following know about a backup channel just in case. And wouldn't it be great just to have it totally portable? I mean, just have that ready list that you could notify, hey, listen, I got knocked off of TikTok on this channel. You send out an email to everybody about your new channel and you're covered. You get 80% of your following back. And
Right.
what did
And think
it
about
cost you
this.
a little
If
time?
you guys owned an influencer agency and I'm talking to you right now and you want to do business with me and I say, that's great. Everything you said is awesome. I want you to follow up with me and provide me with pricing, structure, et cetera. What is probably the way you're going to communicate with me?
Email.
Email.
There you go. You're not going
Yeah.
to tweet me the information, right?
Yep.
Well,
I just closed a new client, and what did they want? They wanted a contract. How do you get them a contract?
well, and one of the ways, sometimes you do get in front of people that need a little bit of pushing and convincing. And the way I always explain it is like, email is a list of people that have said, I want to hear from you. Said,
Yes.
and you do not get, I said, so it's not, it's a little bit of push marketing, but it's push marketing to an audience that has said, yes, I want to get it. I'm switching the aforementioned client over. Actually, Rob introduced me to Klaviyo and setting up. And this is the first time I've ever dealt with it. And I am completely blown away at how many different things that they can do, because they're a Shopify type setup. And
Right.
it's just, I already, and I think I accidentally did it when I added the old exported email into the new list. It accidentally sent out hey,
Welcome list.
welcome
always
list again.
happens,
But
yep.
you know what? They
Yeah.
had like their sales were through the roof that day.
Mm-hmm.
Oops emails tend to do better than the original. When you make a mistake and you send that
Yeah.
follow-up with the oops, that usually generates a lot of revenue.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I love it. And I would, I enjoy creating them. And like you said, and that's the other thing I was going to say is one of the things that was cool about setting up some of their flows is the code that you could put in there. And, so it says, hey, you looked at this, we think you're going to like this. And it does, it pulls out, and then my next thing is to put heat maps on their shop.
Behavioral based targeting based on,
And
browsing
Kristen,
history.
the biggest thing you said was, I'm going to say, but you said it, permission-based email. In other words, people give you permission to email them. There are situations where people buy email lists. And if you're an influencer and you're looking to grow your audience or get business, I'm going to tell you right now, don't buy an email list. If you walk up the street and some guy in a trench coat comes up, opens it up, and he's got email lists hanging from the inside of his lining and says, look, 10,000 email addresses for $50, don't be tempted to buy it. Even though it sounds like you can get a lot of money right away, it's actually going to hurt you in the long run. You might get some sales from that initial email, but you're hurting yourself as far as getting your email to the inbox because so many people are going to mark that message as spam or ignore it. And it's actually hurting you. And a little tip, if you don't have a Gmail address, create one. If you're worried about your email address being shared with other people, there's a trick with Gmail, and not everybody knows this, but I can have Hank Hoffmeier at gmail.com, and I can do Hank Hoffmeier plus, let's say, Macy's, which is a department store, at gmail.com. If I provide that to Macy's website and they start sending me emails, it'll show me it's being sent to that email address. But if they sell their list to someone else, I'll know that because let's say JCPenney's is sending an email out and it has the Macy's email address, I'm going to know that they shared that email address. It's a good way to kind of make sure that people are sending emails to you that are valid.
Great tip. That's a great tip.
Yeah, great tip.
So what are some success stories, or not successful, but what are some of the successful campaigns and not tricks, but just really good best practices, there you go, that you're seeing companies and people use?
When it comes to email marketing or Okay. When it comes to email, to me, there's like three things that you need to be doing. The first one is having a sign up form on a website or a landing page. If you don't have a website, you can create one with like lead pages or anywhere that provides landing page functionality. Because you need to get people to sign up for your newsletter, journal, your sales, whatever it is. And the only thing you need to start a relationship is a first name and an email address. You can always get information later on. I always say, if I'm looking for new sneakers and I go to a website that has some awesome sneakers and they ask me to be on their newsletter and they want my first name, last name, my favorite color, date of birth, email address, last year's taxes, I'm probably not going to fill that out.
I'm out.
But you could start with a first name and an email address. You can gather more information later just through stuff that they're doing, opening and not opening, or you can use a survey. Right? You can ask people, if you give me this information, it'll help me give you better content. And
it's
people
a first date, right?
Doing that.
It's like a first date. Like,
right.
You don't get everything about a person on the first date.
Right. You have to nurture them, build that relationship, the KLT, know, like, and trust. And to that, well, before I get to that, don't use a pop-up that comes up right away. If I go to Rob's website and all of a sudden I didn't even have a chance to find out exactly what he does, I have an idea, but I didn't read. All of a sudden I have a pop-up, sign up for my newsletter. I'm what? Huh? I don't even know what this guy does yet. Give it some time, or use exit intent technology. When they go to leave the website, it pops up, hey, before you go, wanted to see if you wanted to get on my newsletter list. So once you have that email list, or the person fills out your form, what you want is a welcome email, and that has to go out right away. As soon as they sign up, in most platforms, you can send an automated email that goes out, welcome to my newsletter. I'm glad you're here. Here's what you can expect. I send an email once a month that has XYZ in it. And if for any reason you want to unsubscribe, you can click on the link at the bottom of this email. Here's the link now, give them a way out. But you're setting the expectations of when they're going to get the email, and you're giving them information. Don't send it a month after they sign up, because they might forget they signed up, marking your message as spam, or ignore it again. So now you have your form, you have your welcome email. Then don't get boring with your content. Provide a lot of value. And I always say have a couple different versions of a template to send out. One that maybe is mostly text and a couple images. Another one that's maybe a lot more images and links to videos, etc. Get a little different. Learn what your audience wants, but change it up a little bit. Maybe around the holidays, spice up your template so that it can do a lot better. So those are the three best practices I find that everybody kind of struggles with in some way, even if they've been doing email marketing for a while.
One of the things that I find frustrating is obviously as a female, I shop online a lot, just like we all do. But one of the things, and there's one particular website, and I can't remember which one, it's irrelevant, that where you do get the pop-ups and they're like, join our email list and get 15% off your purchase, right?
Right.
And so you're like, sweet, love a bargain. And you go, you put your information in, and then you just sit there and you wait.
Yep.
And you
I've
wait,
had that happen.
and you wait, and you never get it. And guess what? Hello, abandoned cart. I mean, I gave you my information. I wanted my 15% off. And that's usually for more like high ticket items, not something that's, like $5.99. But then I'm out of there, because I gave you what you asked for, but I haven't gotten what you promised me.
Right.
And that's
I've walked out of brick and mortar stores because of that. I walked in, I see a sign that says sign up, get 10% off your first purchase, and then I don't get it. I walk out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a lost opportunity, and most likely they're not going to come back.
Kristen, how many products have you bought off Instagram ads?
Up until April, I had bought none. The Rona combined with wine.
I bought one.
I probably ordered 5 or 6 things from
Scroll, click, pay. Scroll, click, pay.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, a lot of them were from overseas. So I mean, you can't see it here, but I've got one of those like cool, funky laptop razors.
Yeah.
And I'll put it this way: when it showed up, I was like, "Oh God, another one."
Yeah. Expectations versus reality. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it was the fact that it's just, I know myself that if I've had a couple glasses of wine, I do not need to be on my phone shopping, because stuff will show up and I'm like, What was that?
Yep. I've heard stories of people saying, hey, so-and-so, significant other, your package from Amazon is here. What'd you buy now? Oh, I don't know. I forgot. I'm just buying too many things.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're here talking to Hank Hoffmeier, email marketing expert, about email and influencer marketing. I guess to move the conversation forward another step, Hank, from what you know about influencers, content creators, and those that have created authority sites for themselves, what can these creators do better with their email marketing efforts?
It needs to be relevant, right? In other words,
Mm-hmm.
as an influencer, your job is to get other people to do things, and you need to talk about that. In your email newsletter, use the power of stories, how you've done something or how you overcame a challenge, or maybe you have a client you're working with and you help them reach a certain goal. We all have these challenges that we want to overcome. We want to see success. I open up a lot of my workshops, webinars, and conference talks using stories because people can relate to them. If you can relate to something that people have going on in their life, like maybe the struggle with buying too many products, I think all of us have fit into that category at one point or another. We're going to be engaged and start listening. And if you can use shock and awe or the aha moments in your newsletters, that's going to create awareness and people will want to work with you. There's nothing worse than having an email that's a mile long that just talks about statistics and how much revenue you've gotten for one client, because maybe you were able to make a client $200,000 off of one post on Instagram, but does that mean you're going to do the same for me? Really what you want to do is talk about the struggle that client had with making sales, what you did, how you executed it, and how it actually formulated into that win. And then somebody's going to say, I want that too. I have a similar struggle and maybe they can help me. I'm going to go ahead, book that call, send that email, reach out via DM or whatever. It just really comes down to, for an influencer, it's social selling, which is different than selling on social. Selling on social is providing links to products and services and having images, videos that try to sell your product. But social selling is building that relationship, getting the know, like, and trust factor so that people can, number one, use you if they're interested. Number two, refer you if they know someone, if they're not ready to work with you. And then number three, provide testimonials after they have worked with you.
How do you, with video and emails, how is that? I mean, because a lot of when we're saying influencers, especially if we're talking, to a younger generation, that is very natural to them. Video is very natural to them. How
Exactly.
do you see? Do video emails convert? Do they get a higher open rate? And then I want you to also talk a little bit in the next. We have about 5-7 minutes left. Subject lines, because that's your headline. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I think I have these stats in my head because of the talk I did earlier. Right now, in this year, marketing is 80% video. And video, when it's done correctly, has a 95% retention rate versus a 10% in just a written word. Video is important. Now, you're talking about email marketing. There are a handful of providers that allow you to put video and email, embed them in there. But the caveat here is there's only a small portion of email providers like Apple, Yahoo, Gmail that actually will play that. And you have to have a fallback, which is a thumbnail, which everybody uses with the play button over it. What I would say is link to your videos. And more importantly, what you can do is create a small file size with a GIF that loops, that has a portion of the video or certain frames of the video that entice people to say, oh my God, that looks so cool. I have to click through to see the rest of that.
So you're saying create like a snippet instead of embedding the entire, because that's a lot of that's
Right.
a big size. So that makes
Yeah.
sense. That's a good
Or you
tip.
can either link to it externally because most platforms have a limit, or you just compress it, which it won't look that bad in email. I worked with a client, this was years ago. They were actually, pioneers in doing this. They did video reviews or movie reviews. So they would have videos available. Come see this trailer, come see this review. They did that in a genius fashion where they put, the, what do you want to call the most important part of the movie into the animated GIF to get you to say, oh my God, I need to go check that out.
So the next piece of it, let's talk about subject lines.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being interrogated. This is
Well,
cool.
that's you're in the hot seat. Sorry, dude. You did. You
No,
obviously,
that's okay.
you obviously did not read the fine print of our contract.
Subject lines. Where
We
do
want to know
start
all
with
all your dirty secrets, Hank.
that? Right. Well,
Give us some tips on how
Yeah.
to create good. Like for instance, I tend to open emails from newsletters that have emojis in them.
Something that I was going to mention. First thing is the length of your subject line. 10 words is probably the most, because otherwise it may get cut off in the inbox and you don't want to say something awkward or have somebody not understand what you're saying. Then you have something called the preheader. And to me, it's like what Robin is to Batman. They make a dynamic duo. The preheader is the next bit of text that shows up in a preview. You'll probably see this in Gmail and Outlook for the most part. Hank, big sale today would be the subject line in bold. And next to it is your favorite sneakers are on sale. And that's the preheader. That's the first bit of text that's in your email. And a lot of marketers fail because what they'll put there is, cannot view this email, click here to view online. That is wasted real estate, folks. So make sure you're using the preheader. Almost all platforms have them. Use emoji because it helps you stand out. No longer will you get flagged for spam by using emoji, but you want to test just to make sure it renders correctly. Then also, don't use something that's misleading. Those emojis probably need to be relative to your subject line. Don't put a fire emoji, if you're talking about something where people are struggling. That was a bad example, but just make sure it's relevant to your subject line. Make sure you're doing testing. Take one version of a subject line, test it against another. Version A would be 10% of your list. Version B would be another 10%. Let it sit and bake for 24 to 48 hours. And then whichever one has the higher open rate, you send that to the remaining 80% of your list. It's like getting free opens with every send. That's probably some of the quick tips. I would just say, and again, just don't be misleading with your subject lines. Don't get people to open only to be disappointed by the content. Don't promise something in your subject line, but then let them down, because what's going to happen there is people are going to become fatigued out. It's almost like the boy who cried wolf, right?
The
You
old
promise them
bait and
something
switch.
it's not there. Promise them something
Yeah.
it's not there. They're going to start ignoring your emails, or worse, unsubscribe, or maybe mark it as spam.
Great.
Great. What books, courses, magazines, or websites do you recommend to, fine tune your email marketing efforts?
All of them. Not only email marketing, right? Because you're doing social selling in email. So you want to read books. Gary Vaynerchuk's Jab, 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 Right Hook talks about value, 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 ask for the sale. Even though it's not email marketing related, go ahead and pick that up and read that. Hug Your Haters by Jay Baer talks about, getting into the mind of people that are posting negatively about you or don't feel really good about doing business with you. How do you hug them and make them feel a little bit better? Marketing by the Numbers is an old tried and true book, which is good to read. I read it when I first started at iContact. I have a book called The ABCs of the Customer Journey, a beginner's guide to automation, branding, and customer service. That can be one that might be of interest. Those are probably just a few that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay, well, we will actually be putting all of your links into the show notes, but real quickly, if you want to tell everybody how they can find you, and like I said, I will make sure that they're linked in below.
My running joke is that if you search my name, Hank Hoffmeier, I take up like 2 or 3 pages of Google because I have a unique name. That's not because I'm so special or anything. But what you can
I think we all
We all
fall
do.
into that category.
It's great, right? When you have a unique
Yeah.
you do so much with that.
So
But
easy to dominate the
HankHoffmeier.com,
SERPs. Yeah.
links to all my socials, link to my book, speaking categories. If you feel like you want to work with me on maybe doing a webinar together, or you think I'd be a good speaker for somewhere else, I have great content on there. I have my podcast, Hank's Marketing and Business Tips, is linked to there if you want to tune into that, or maybe curate specific episodes that relate to you as an influencer or content creator. I have a lot of great guests on my show. Sometimes I just get in front of the mic for 2 or 3 minutes and tell you what to do and what not to do. YouTube, I love new subscribers on my YouTube channel, so I hope to see you over there.
Great.
Excellent. Well,
Thanks for
speaking of
joining us,
conferences,
Yeah.
this is our gentle plug for those of you who are listening before January 6th.
Again. You cut off. Try again.
Did I?
Lost your audio.
I'm sorry.
There you go. You're back.
All right. Yikes. Okay. Good thing I edit, huh?
Yeah.
So speaking of conferences, for those of you who are listening to this before January 16th, 2021, make sure you head over to the contentcreatorsconference.com, where you can hear more from Hank as well as the other marketing experts that will be speaking at the summit and who will be helping you up your influencer marketability. But for this week, thank you, Hank, for joining us. Even I learned a few things. I've got some things I need to go and edit in my stuff and my client stuff, thanks to this 30-minute conversation. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody, go create some magic with your content. And until next time, take care.